Amazing moment, homeless girl surprises dying woman, unveiling her hidden billionaire legacy. Sara crouched in the corner of the public library, the worn edges of her note-filled textbook burnt into her hands. Homeless and alone at just 22, she dreamt of scientific breakthroughs while wrapped in the bitter reality of a life lived on the streets. Her mother's death had stolen more than just a parent, it had snuffed out the sanctuary of hope. Each passing day intensified her fears. What if she never broke free from this cycle? What if curiosity and textbooks were all she would ever have? The thought gripped her chest with iron fingers. As rain poured outside, the warm glow of the library offered momentary reprieve. But despite the comforting atmosphere, Sara wrestled with despair. Was her yearning for knowledge futile? With each research paper, she could see the world she craved but couldn't touch. Sara often found herself trapped in her dreams and shackled by them. As she lingered, she overheard snippets of conversation that sliced through her thoughts: get a job, stop being lazy, and look at those people, nothing can save them. Their words stung like acid. She wanted to shout that being invisible didn't mean she wasn't there. Trust was becoming her enemy, and vulnerability, a curse. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The library door swung open, and in rushed a gust of wind. A sharp nasal bark echoed through the space. Max, the beagle, darted across the street before Sara could even think. Her heart raced as panic surged. Without conscious thought, she sprang from her corner, dodging bookshelves, nearly tripping over her own feet. The traffic blared and smoked as she reached the road, her own precarious life fading away into the background. With the sinkhole of doubt at her center, she lunged, arms outstretched, gripping the collar of the scruffy dog as metal screamed around them. Evelyn, an elderly lady watching from the sidewalk, gasped as she saw her beloved Max rescued by this brave girl. The kindness shattered her world with sudden warmth. Yet, as they sat on the curb moments later, sharing the first of several unspoken emotions in the grim reality of living alone, neither of them understood how much they had in common. Both haunted, both longing for something more. With Evelyn's stories of heartbreak and lost opportunities aligned with her own dreams, Sara felt a flicker of hope ignite within. But soon, questions swirled. What if the friendship overshadowed her goals? Could she truly lean on someone again, risk being let down, or even worse, lose the only tangible thread to her dreams? Just as she felt their connection tighten, a family member from Evelyn's past appeared, eager to destroy the fragile haven they'd built. The stakes climbed, making Sara question everything, battling against the impending storm of betrayal that hovered over their newfound bond. Evelyn looked at her, eyes dimmed by tears and illness, whispering words that curled her stomach into knots. What do you think matters more, family or the choices we make? Just as Sara opened her mouth to respond, uncertainty gripped her again, leaving the future of their friendship and their dreams hanging precariously in the balance. Sara stared at Evelyn, the weight of her unuttered response clamping down on her chest like iron chains. The sweet scent of rain-soaked earth wafted through the air, but its promise of renewal felt far away. Instead, fear swirled around her like a tempest, melding with doubts that screamed to be released. What did it mean to choose? Family, fraught with expectations, or her own dreams, beckoning her toward the unknown? Choices define us, she finally murmured, the words tentative, struggling against the timbre of her own fears. How could she advocate for the choices she'd been denied all her life? Were her dreams so far removed from reality that they demanded sacrifice? Evelyn gave her a knowing glance, a flicker of understanding igniting in her fading eyes. Remember, sometimes you have to carve your own family. As the old woman's statement reverberated through her thoughts, a newfound urgency flickered to life. If she truly wanted to pursue a future drenched in science, to uncover the unknown, she had to confront her haunting past. It wasn't just Evelyn's impending loss weighing on her, it was her own fear of loss of hope, of trust. Days crept by, filled with conversations about fragmented family tales and shared moments of insight. Evelyn's wisdom became the comfort Sara could lean on. Yet, shadows of her previous life clenched around her, reminding her of everything she had escaped but never truly embraced. Could she forge her destiny while holding someone else's heart in her hands? The circumstances shifted when Evelyn's family began to loom closer, descending upon them like vultures. Each ambiguous text message sent to the elder woman hollowed out Sara's confidence. They were eager to reclaim their so-called glory. What if she, just a transient figure in Evelyn's life, was disposable? Sara had to face her demons, the encroaching reality forcing her hand. This was the crucible she needed to emerge stronger. The brightly lit library transformed in her mind to a workshop, a sanctuary of potential where she could gather her thoughts and formulate a plan. As she sat hunched over her textbooks that night, the world outside whispered promises of a future yet unwritten. Ghostly outlines of equations and theories began to etch themselves in her mind, pulsing with life. Perhaps studying was not just an escape, it could be a plan of action. Sara realized her hidden tenacity, the grit she had bolstered from surviving on the streets, spilling over into her relentless pursuit of knowledge. However, the layer of looming betrayal compounded her determination. A confrontation loomed ahead, one that would dance dangerously near the heart of her burgeoning partnership with Evelyn. Deep down, her inclination to protect the fragile friendship warred against the need to shield her ambitions. The day finally arrived when Evelyn's family arrived for a confrontation. As voices rose and accusations flew, Sara stood in the midst, an uncertain guardian. She felt both the instinct to retreat and the burgeoning courage to confront the looming threats. They were clearly unprepared for what they would face. She would not let Evelyn down. Enough. Sara's voice erupted with unforeseen authority, silencing the room. Exposed, raw emotions spread across Evelyn's family members' faces, frozen in time. Had she just crossed a line? Sara's heart raced, heat flooding her cheeks. But she sensed a shift, a charge in the air that hinted at something more monumental than her mere existence, the potential for transformation, for defiance. She could take hold of her life, entwined in this struggle. With the specter of family betrayal flashing ominously above them, the discussion hung on a precarious thread. Would this be the moment Sara reclaimed control over her own narrative, or would she falter, losing what tenuous ties she had to both Evelyn and her own dreams? The answer lay just outside her reach, and with it came the uncertain promise of both conflict and resolution. As Evelyn's family glared, tensions peaked, and Sara prepared to dive deeper into the complexities of sacrifice and ambition, knowing she was stepping into the unknown. What decisions would she have to make to stand firm in this storm? Would her voice resonate, or would it be drowned out by the noise around her? The clash of wills was imminent, and the stakes rose higher than ever. Sara's chest tightened as the silence lingered after her outburst. Eyes shifted, some incredulous, others stunned into a rare stillness. She felt layers of fear peel away, revealing her raw nerve to stand alone. But that vulnerability twisted within her, threatening to overtake the newfound authority she had unearthed. Evelyn's family stared. The weight of their judgment loomed heavily, yet Sara stood firm, her heart pounding a frantic rhythm. In that pregnant pause, voices of doubt flitted through her mind. What was she trying to prove? A fleeting thought of retreat tugged at her thoughts like a tide, but she grasped onto her resolve instead. Evelyn deserves to choose her family, Sara declared, her voice steadying with each word. And if she chooses me, then you need to respect that. She hadn't planned to voice her own place in Evelyn's life like that. It felt both audacious and empowering. The tension cracked, and a murmur rose from Evelyn's relatives, rippling with disbelief and indignation. They scrutinized her, searching for weaknesses, a chink in her armor. For a moment, Sara flinched under their scrutiny, but then the gravity of her conviction yanked her back from the brink. She had already sacrificed so much. This moment was hers to seize. Who are you to dictate what family means? A younger man shot back, his voice full of entitlement. The challenge ignited the urge within her to prove herself worthy. A family shouldn't be built on blood alone. It should be founded on respect and support, feelings you clearly lack. The tremor of anger coursing through her invigorated her as she met the gaze of each family member in turn, carefully weaving her conviction into her words. Evelyn's hands trembled at her sides, her frail body caught in the precarious midst of this familial upheaval. Sara's heart ached at the sight, the fierce determination of the family against the fragile elder who had seen through the cracks of her past. Every crack was a reminder of the life struggle that had forged her into someone capable of standing her ground. "Let me ask you, what have you done for her?" Sara challenged, her voice rising slightly. "Have you been here, supporting her through these hard times? Or are you just here to claim her ownership?" The silence that followed was a deathly stillness, and beneath it, a realization began to blossom in her mind. The arguments weren't just for Evelyn, this was her initiation into the complex tapestry of human relationships not formed merely by blood, but by choice and courage. Just as the tide seemed to shift, the conversation became a cacophony of voices again. Underneath the hostile clamor, Sara sensed the stirring of resolve within Evelyn. The old woman raised a trembling hand, a subtle signal that not all was lost. "Enough," Evelyn's voice broke through, fragile yet commanding, causing her family to pause. "Sara speaks a truth that you refuse to see." In that instant, their glares transformed into something less rigid, the tension easing, almost imperceptibly. Sara focused on Evelyn, catching a glimpse of steely determination shining through her weariness. The tentative alliance strengthened the roots of their partnership, something they both desperately needed. Sara realized their spirited bond was contagious, revitalizing the shaky foundation of her ambitions. In protecting Evelyn, she discovered a gritty version of herself she had known only in her dreams. She had stepped into the fray, proving she was capable of more than mere survival. She was a combatant for dreams. Yet, there was another truth lurking beneath her burgeoning strength. She knew the confrontation wasn't merely a challenge against Evelyn's family, it was a reflection of her own inner struggles, choices she needed to confront that lay intertwined with her ambitions. What if the true price of pursuing her dreams meant sacrificing even more than she had already endured? As the tension began to soften, Sara felt the intricate layers of her resolve and dread pulling at her heartstrings. She had accomplished something that day, but what she had yet to face loomed larger than her fear of the family before her. As the last moments of anger swirled about them, Sara's mind raced with questions. How had the fight transformed her path forward? Would the fight for Evelyn's love and respect push her closer to finally claiming her dreams? The flickering uncertainty remained, but one truth anchored her. The moment of truth still awaited her, and she could feel its weight settle on her shoulders. In this daunting dance between aspiration and loyalty, would she find the courage to march deeper into the storm? The room's atmosphere shifted, oscillating between tempestuous anger and tentative support. Evelyn's family exchanged strained glances, visibly shaken by the intervention. Yet, for Sara, this moment was profound, demanding introspection. She stepped slightly back, taking a breath as she processed the ramifications of her actions. That confrontation had awoken something formidable inside her, but it also exposed the chinks in her armor. Was that bravery or foolishness? She whispered to herself, retreating into the corners of her mind. Standing up to Evelyn's family might have sealed her fate with them, but it couldn't overshadow the pride she felt at claiming her space in this narrative. The fight had been exhilarating, but it also dredged up a question that clawed at her insides. Was she truly prepared to forge her new identity against the backdrop of such hostility? Evelyn's frail body echoed both fragility and strength, bridging the gap between past mistakes and future aspirations. It struck Sara that she couldn't protect what she didn't fully understand. Her resolve, while empowering, became synonymous with the weight of responsibility. She glanced at Evelyn, who now appeared more at ease, cradled by the softer tide of familial descent. "Thank you," Evelyn said softly, and in that moment, Sara felt their souls converge, solidifying a connection that would transcend mere obligation. Yet, the discomforting truth lingered in the periphery. Evelyn's family was still encircled around them, casting long shadows of intimidation. The question remained, Would their acceptance of her grow with time or result in further challenges? In navigating her newfound role, Sara faced not only the complexity of familial loyalty but also the task of untangling her own fears of inadequacy. No sooner had she began contemplating the aftermath, a firm voice caught her attention. "You think you can just walk into our lives and dictate terms? That it's ever going to be that simple?" It was the same younger man from before, a confrontational glare etching lines around his mouth. She hesitated, recognizing the thin line of bravado that masked his vulnerability. "What else can you offer besides intimidation?" She replied, an unexpected boldness surging within her. The friction of their exchange ignited something deeper in Sara. This wasn't just a matter of defending Evelyn, it was about confronting the traits that often stifled her ambitions. Could she unravel this confrontation into the clarity she desperately sought? Or was she bracing for more resistance? Every question hung in the air like a tangible challenge, daring her to create more than mere survival instincts. Underneath it, she sensed the tremor of her own self-doubt. What was she proving? And could she maintain this assertiveness in places where it mattered? Was that the foundation she needed moving forward, to harness this frustration into fuel for her dreams? Gathering her thoughts and breathing in the mingled tension, she resolved to be the architect of her fate, to transform discomfort into a stepping stone towards empowerment. The only choice left remained vastly meaningful: how to channel these confrontations into visible growth instead of letting them drown her aspirations. As the cacophony wound down, Evelyn reached for Sara's hand, a silent pledge of solidarity. This gesture fortified their bond, but Sara felt another internal battle brewing. Their moment of triumph would soon be tested. What's next? She mumbled under her breath, feeling the thrumming pulse of uncertainty. Evelyn, still holding on, offered a weak yet reassuring smile. But just as the anxiety seemed to lift, a revelation surged within Sara. What if this was only the beginning? What were the lengths she was willing to go to fight for what she believed? The revelation loomed over her. Whether it was about her ambitions or Evelyn's unspoken past, the truth waited ready to surface, and with it, the quest for not just fulfillment, but ultimate freedom, a freedom that demanded confronting deeper truths. As the murmur of family disputes simmered down, Sara felt the exhilarating pull of the next stage awaiting her. It was time to embrace the unforeseen path ahead, a venture that would ignite her deepest fears and lead to the realms of unexpected triumph. Sara felt the weight of the moment pressing heavily against her chest, the air thick with anticipation and unresolved tension. Evelyn's family remained gathered, their features a kaleidoscope of confusion, resentment, and begrudging respect. With a sharp inhale, Sara gripped Evelyn's hand tighter, signaling an unbreakable alliance formed in the labyrinth of uncertainty. "Let us go outside," Evelyn whispered, her eyes darting to the window where fragments of daylight peeked through. Sara nodded, knowing the transition was more than physical. It marked a pivotal step in defining their future together. But with each step toward the door, doubt spiraled within her. Was she ready for whatever awaited them out there? As they exited the stifling room, the shadows of Evelyn's family lurked behind them like specters. Sara's mind raced, a whirlwind of thoughts chasing each other. Could she continue this fight? What if those shadows were waiting to plunge daggers into her growing confidence? Yet, she pressed forward, resolved to keep her courage intact. Outside, the world greeted them with blinding light and a cool breeze that tousled their hair, a stark contrast to the charged atmosphere they had just left. She took a moment to savor the freshness, letting it fill her lungs. That rush of optimism reminded her of why she was here. It wasn't just about defending Evelyn's existence but delving deeper into her own potential. "I've never felt this free," Evelyn said, her voice a trembling whisper, laced with hope. Sara attempted to match that serenity, but the insecurities gnawed at her walls of confidence. Is freedom just an illusion, she wondered? Had she truly earned it, or was she merely along for the ride? "No matter what they say or think, you deserve this," Sara replied, conscious of her own resolve. She needed to believe in their collective strength, to reinforce her claim on this journey. It felt imperative, almost as if each word spun a thread that wove their destinies tighter together. Evelyn met her gaze, a blend of vulnerability and strength shimmering in her expression. And what about you? What do you deserve? The question pierced Sarah's heart like a sharp arrow. She hesitated, grappling with an answer that felt elusive, like mist slipping between her fingers. Could she truly articulate her worth? Was she enough beyond this fight? It was a moral dilemma traversing her consciousness, a reflection of her harrowing shadows. If she intended to move forward, change might mean wrestling with her own perception of merit. I deserve to be heard, she finally replied, surprisingly resolute. Even as the words left her mouth, she felt the tremors of authenticity ripple through her. It was a small victory against the tides of her self-doubt, and in that moment, she glimpsed a glimmer of her identity forming, but as they stood there rooted in that newfound hold on agency, an unexpected echo hummed through the alley behind them. An older woman stepped into the light, disheveled hair framing her weathered face. She surveyed the two with keen, experienced eyes, her presence both startling and reverent. "What are you girls hiding? Only time tells whether you'll be brave enough to face what comes next," the woman croaked, carving an unmistakable edge into the fabric of their moment. Sarah's pulse quickened. Who was this woman? How did she sense their unraveling struggle? More importantly, what did she mean by what comes next? The urgency hung thick in the air, prompting Sara to steel herself for whatever truth lay ahead. As Evelyn instinctively moved closer, protective and curious, Sarah's mind raced to apprehend the deeper implications of their encounter. Was this woman merely an observer or a herald of pivotal revelations? The cracks of her reality now felt perilously close to shattering. A shiver of raw intrigue spiraled through her, compelling her to confront these emerging questions. Each detail, each subtle word stood potent with the promise of profound change. With a new path diverging at her feet, Sara sensed they were on the brink of something monumental, both potentially liberating and uniquely terrifying. "Let us find out," she said, her voice steady, emboldened by the rising tide of determination. Sara knew that somewhere in this unwritten future lay answers entwined with adversities that could either liberate or imprison her. As they hesitantly approached the older woman, the promise of revelation loomed, tethered to a new expedition that required more than courage. It called for an unsettling exploration of their intertwined destinies. The older woman's eyes sparkled with a wisdom that seemed to transcend their current predicament. As Sara and Evelyn drew nearer, each step felt heavier, laden with the weight of their unvoiced fears and uncharted futures. "You seem lost, yet you carry a fire within," the woman remarked, her voice breaking the tension like a fragile glass chime. "What defines you is not the shadows that haunt you, but the light you choose to follow." Sara's throat tightened. Was it merely a platitude, or did it resonate as a challenge too? In that moment, she caught the glimmer of something raw and authentic in the woman's expression, perhaps the courage of someone who had encountered her own demons. That realization spurred an unexpected resolve in Sara. The fire within, what did it even mean for her? "Who are you?" Evelyn interjected, breaking the spell that had momentarily enveloped them. Her tone was firm, protective of the uncertainty that urged them forward yet threatened to ensnare them. "A seeker," the woman replied, shrugging off Evelyn's skepticism, "like you. I've walked a path of shadows, too. Life has its ways of pinning us in corners, but it's how we maneuver around those walls that shapes our future." Sara absorbed every word, recognizing the cyclical nature of their struggles. Hadn't she been faced with walls before? Personal obstacles, societal judgments, and now the looming specter of Evelyn's family. The swirling notion of a seeker sparked a question deep within her. "And what if we aren't sure which way to go?" she asked, her voice trembling yet sharp with inquiry. "Then you listen," the woman replied, stepping closer, her presence firm yet grounding. "You listen to the stories, the whispers around you. Every encounter, every moment holds a lesson." The gravity of that statement snaked its way into Sara's thoughts. Stories had always been a refuge for her, a means to leverage imagination in confronting her reality. She recalled her childhood, lost in books that offered parallels to her own desires and fears. Could they serve as a compass now guiding not only her but Evelyn toward their purpose? "You can be stronger than your past," the woman continued, leaning in with an intensity that enveloped both of them. "But first, you must reveal your truth. Begin inquiring about the things you fear most. Sara felt a rush of adrenaline course through her. It was as though a dormant force within her had awakened, summoning not only her will but her purpose. What fears had she sidestepped? Which truths were entangled in the narrative she had avoided? Evelyn's hand squeezed hers tighter, a silent agreement flaring up between them. A spiraling commitment to confront their realities emerged. What if we fail? Evelyn whispered, vulnerability cracking her tone. Failure is the first step towards unveiling who you really are, the woman said, a slight smile breaking through her aged demeanor. The real question is, are you brave enough to step into that unknown? Sara glanced at Evelyn, whose eyes brimmed with unshed tears, echoing hope and fear in equal measure. It was a decisive moment in their journey, not merely forward, but inward as well. Then let's uncover our truths, Sara declared, newfound tenacity invigorating her spirit. The tension that had knotted her chest began to loosen as clarity washed over her. Perhaps defining her worth was entwined in facing those unseen corners of her life. The woman nodded, an enigmatic satisfaction dancing across her lips. Remember, courage is not the absence of fear, it's the choice to act in spite of it. As Sara prepared to channel that courage into an urgent, magical unveiling of her identity, the sun dipped lower in the sky, shimmering with possibilities. Just then, an unexpected voice called out from behind, a voice familiar yet foreign, leaving echoes of doubt and suspicion in its wake. Are you two really about to give a stranger your deepest secrets? A figure emerged, casting a shadow that suddenly felt heavier than any burden they had known. Sara's heart raced. The familiar voice was one she hadn't expected, one from her past that threatened to resurface old wounds. The stakes of this encounter had just been raised, and each heartbeat now echoed the urgency of a collision imminent. Face it, she whispered to herself, steadying her resolve. Time to see what lies ahead. Sara's pulse raced, a mix of dread and anger filling her. The voice belonged to Clara, a figure from her past, one who had shaped her insecurities and perpetuated her fears. Clara stood at the edge of their small gathering, arms crossed, a smirk playing on her lips as if she relished the discomfort she caused. What are you doing here, Clara? Evelyn shot back defensively, but Sara could feel the tremble in her friend's voice. Evelyn's protectiveness was palpable, but Sara yearned to confront whatever shadows Clara brought with her. I could ask you the same, Clara scoffed, eyeing the older woman with suspicion. What kind of wisdom does she have to share? Sounds like a load of nonsense to me. Suddenly, the stakes were more significant than personal fears. Clara's presence threatened to unravel everything they had just resolved to explore. Memories of ridicule and doubt surged through Sara's mind, a visceral reminder of every time her voice had been silenced by Clara's derision. Actually, the older woman interjected, what I have to share is crucial for growth. You see, the past often haunts us the most when we misinterpret its lessons. Clara laughed, dismissively rolling her eyes. Lessons? What lesson is there in your failed endeavors to connect? You all sound ridiculous. You think you can just reveal your truth and everything will magically get better? Sara's rage ignited. Wasn't that exactly the challenge she needed to engage with? Every judgment Clara cast hung in the air like a taunt, demanding a response. She inhaled deeply, her heart pounding with newfound courage. We've all struggled with our truths, Clara. But something you might not grasp is that facing them is the path to freedom. Freedom? Clara echoed, her laughter turning cynical. You think facing your truths will somehow change anything? It's naive. But beneath the bravado, the sharp edge of vulnerability flickered in Clara's eyes. Perhaps this confrontation was not just an assault on Sara, but a reflection of Clara's own unacknowledged fears. Maybe you're right, Sara challenged, her voice steady. But I won't let your negativity define my journey. She glanced at Evelyn, whose expression mirrored her own unwavering commitment. Clara's derision was a reflection of her own pain, something that Sara had to remember as she moved forward. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted. The older woman, summoning an aura of authority, focused on Clara. Aren't you tired of living in fear? Is your bitterness really what you want to define your legacy? Clara faltered, uncertainty creeping into her expression. There was a moment, a sober silence escaping her polished exterior as if she was lifted momentarily beyond her defensiveness. Perhaps, Sara thought, she wasn't just confronting Clara, but nudging her toward recognizing her own struggles. Who are you to question me? Clara spat, regaining her posture. You know nothing about me. On the contrary, the older woman replied calmly, I see shadows hidden in your laughter. We all have our battles, Clara, but those who confront them grow immeasurably. Isn't that what you fear? The silence hung like an unbroken spell. In that moment, Sara felt a profound shift within herself, acknowledging that some battles were not just about her own demons but the interconnectedness of their truths. Clara's presence was a reminder that their journeys, although different, shared common threads. Ready to face your truth, Clara? Sara prompted, her tone a mix of challenge and invitation. Clara faltered, her bravado cracking. Sara saw a flicker of uncertainty beneath her harsh exterior. Evelyn squeezed Sara's hand tighter, grounding her in this evolving moment of confrontation. The air crackled with tension, Sara's heart raced as she recognized a new reality forming. Could their confrontation be part of her own unearthing? And then, out of the tension emerged one question, echoing in Sara's mind like a clarion call. Were they truly ready to embrace what lay ahead, to untangle their lives from the shadows that bound them? The moment felt critical, their truths dangling like ripe fruit waiting for the first brave bite. What if facing our truths reveals connections we didn't know existed? She mused aloud. Just then, the old woman smiled knowingly. To discover one's value lies not just within oneself, but often in the courage to uplift others in our darkest moments. The next steps loomed before them, fraught with uncertainty yet shimmering with potential. As the sun slipped beyond the horizon, casting long shadows and mystical hues, Sara felt an urgency stirring within her. What awaited them could change everything, but beneath that anticipation loomed another, darker question. Could Clara disrupt their shared journey, driving a wedge deeper than they anticipated, or could this moment shift something fundamental between them? Dare to uncover the truth, the woman urged. Dare to embrace whatever comes next. With that, Sara felt a rising determination. It was time to confront not just the past but the intricate web of relationships that threatened their future. As tension swirled in the air, Sara braced for a revelation that promised to shake the foundations of their hidden lives. Would she be brave enough to step into the unfolding chaos? As the sky darkened, engulfing them in twilight, the tension between Clara and Sara intensified and pulsated like a drumbeat. It felt as if the world around them held its breath, waiting for someone to break the silence that had cocooned them all. Clara's features, usually so sharp and mocking, began to soften for a fleeting moment. This vulnerability tugged at Sara's heart. Could they wrestle through their differences to find common ground? Sara's chest tightened with a mix of hope and anxiety as she searched within herself for where courage resided. The confrontation was a crucible, a chance to redefine the narrative that had shaped her existence thus far. Memories of her younger self, fraught with insecurity, clashed with the woman she was striving to become, one who acknowledged her strengths and recognized the lessons in her struggles. Clara, she began, her voice steady yet inviting. I know you think I'm naive, but I have to believe in the power of truth. If I can stand here and face my vulnerabilities, why can't you? At that moment, Clara's defenses crumbled further, though she quickly masked them with a sneer. What would you know about facing truths? You've had it easy compared to others. This struck a nerve. Anger bubbled within Sara, and she wrestled with her emotions. Was it true? Had she not faced her own difficulties? She weighed the exhausting years of work, the relentless self-doubt, and the battles for acceptance that had shaped her. What's easy for you? Sara shot back, fueled by a newfound assertiveness. Your laughter doesn't hide the loneliness. It's like armor over your insecurities. You may think you have it all figured out, but your need to belittle others reveals more about you than you realize. Clara's brows furrowed as she absorbed the words, and Sara could sense a shift. It was as if Clara was wrestling with the two opposing forces within her, the desire to maintain power and the hunger for understanding. The air hung heavy with implications, every heartbeat amplifying the tension between them. Evelyn, still holding Sara's hand, squeezed a little tighter, grounding her further as if to remind her of the stakes at hand. It was a silent pact of support, an acknowledgement of the struggle beyond just defeating Clara. This was a struggle for Sara's identity and growth. "Let us not pretend neither of us has been through tough times," Anna's voice cut through, bringing clarity back into the moment. "Sara is right, Clara. Sharing our truths isn't about erasing pain, it is about confronting it together. Until you acknowledge your own vulnerabilities, you'll forever drag us down with your bitterness." The truth of those words resonated within Sara, igniting a flame of clarity. It was clear now that Clara's presence was not merely an antagonist. It demanded Sara embrace her own truth and the apprehensions that lingered beneath her confident exterior. There was a lesson waiting for her, one she had to seize. "Look, I'm tired of running from my truth and I'm done letting you be the hurdle in my path," Sara declared, her voice unwavering. "If I collapse under the weight of your judgment, I won't be the only one who misses the chance for growth." The silence stretched, and Clara's hardened guys began to crack. "Maybe I haven't dealt with what happened in the past," she confessed, her voice unexpectedly quiet. "But confronting it means risking what little stability I have built." Sara's heart pounded with empathy. Stability is often just a facade. Only by embracing the shadows can we truly step into the light. "I'm here to admit I'm scared too, but I also know it's a shared journey." A flicker of understanding crossed Clara's features. For the first time, her resolve wavered, as if she might just consider the possibility that vulnerability could lead to empowerment instead of weakness. But before the moment could solidify, the tension in the air crackled again, shifting as Clara regained her composure. "I will not be the villain in your story, Sara. I refuse to be boxed in by your expectations," she hissed, the bravado seeping back into her tone. "What if this time, your story is about you breaking free of being a villain?" Sara countered, feeling adrenaline surge through her veins. "What if we all take this chance to redefine who we are?" The moment hung suspended, wrapped in possibility. Just as Clara opened her mouth to respond, the old woman stepped forward, illuminating the charged air around them, her presence commanding respect and amplifying the vulnerability of the moment. "Remember, both of you," she said calmly, "the path to personal growth begins with honest reflection and connection, not dismissal. Each encounter like this is an opportunity to either build bridges or burn them. Which will it be?" Sara was struck by the implications of those words. The answer lay within her. And then she felt it, the profound urgency that surged through her veins, urging her toward an answer that could change everything. But what would that answer be? Would she dare to extend an olive branch to Clara, or would their confrontation yield irrevocable damage? As the tension loomed, Sara braced herself for the stakes of the next upheaval, knowing that her journey had only just begun. What unexpected truths would emerge from this unfolding chaos? The air felt electric as Sara grappled with the uncertainty before her. Clara's threat loomed like a storm cloud, but deep down, she recognized that confronting it could forge a new path, a redefining moment for both of them. How could she bridge the gap, dissolve the antagonism, and perhaps illuminate a shared human experience? Sara's eyes flickered from Clara's wounded gaze to Evelyn, who nodded slightly, urging her on. The connection they shared became a beacon, drawing out her inner strength. This was not just about her growth, it was about exposing the frailty that lurked behind Clara's bravado. There had to be a way to turn conflict into collaboration. "Clara," she began, the name tumbling from her lips with both trepidation and determination. "You're right that none of us have had it easy. But what if I told you that I see strength in our scars? They don't define us, they just tell a part of our story. You think your laughter conceals your pain, but I stand before you, full of flaws and imperfections, ready to share mine. What if we discovered the humanness in our struggles together?" The words felt weighty, yet they opened the door to revelation. Sara could see Clara's defenses crack just a little more, the sneer faltering as vulnerability surged to the surface. Could this offer of authenticity blossom into something tangible? How do I know you won't just twist this against me? Clara's tone trembled, shadowed by old fears. In that moment, she seemed less a formidable adversary and more a fragile figure battling her own demons. Sara's heart raced, a dam of empathy burst open. Because I want to build something genuine, not to wage war. I've played the game of hiding behind walls for too long. I'm tired of isolation, I want connection. Please, let us free ourselves from the title of villain or victim. What we have is an opportunity, a chance to grow individually and together. A pause hovered in the tepid twilight, heavy with ghosts of the past and kissed by possibilities of the future. Clara shifted her weight, a flicker of indecision crossing her features. The tension forced her to reckon with her fears, the fear of being seen, of accountability, of the undiscovered paths that lay in wait. Clara stammered, words crumbling against what felt like an impenetrable wall. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to change. Neither do I, Sara admitted, her voice whisper soft yet persistent. But maybe we don't have to have all the answers right now. Let us just take one step forward together, however small. Let us unlock what's inside, the brilliance we hide or forget in ourselves. It was a proposal steeped in humility, yet audaciously charged with possibility. Clara swallowed hard, her defenses wavering as the old woman's wise reminder echoed softly in the depths of her mind. Both women stood on the edge of transformation, each waiting to see if the other would take a leap, but as Clara took a tentative step closer, the ground seemed to quake beneath them. The edges of their physical and emotional spaces blurred, and suddenly, the air was thick with urgency. Would this moment yield a truce or a fracture? In that pause, the world outside held its breath, impatient for a resolution. At that very moment, something crashed through the silence, an echo that vibrated through Sara's core. It was the sound of a choice that would reshape their reality. Suddenly, behind Clara, a voice broke through the tension. You both are wasting time. It was Anna, stepping forward with fierce urgency. You need to choose now, because what happens next will change everything. The weight of her words sent shockwaves through Sara. Every instinct screamed at her that they were standing at a precipice where the right decision could alter their destinies, forcing them to confront their true selves. Would she be bold enough to embrace the vulnerability that was contrary to all survival instincts? As Clara shifted, uncertainty swirling in her eyes, Sara felt that familiar blend of fear and determination, an internal crucible igniting. What deep-seated truths would emerge in this catalytic moment? In the stillness, hung the promise of revelation, intertwined with an unsettling tension, as their fates began to inch closer toward what could become a life-altering encounter. But as Clara hesitated, the moment swayed, and Sara felt torn between self-preservation and the urgency of connection. What would she choose? Risk exposing herself profoundly or withdraw back into solitude? The stakes were elevated, and the path before her lay tantalizingly out of reach. Sara stood at the precipice of transformation, teetering between the remnants of her past and the ever-engaging promise of a future unfurling before her. The weight of Clara's presence loomed heavily, a specter of everything she had once been. Yet, amid the tension, the realization crystallized: this confrontation was not merely about the friction between them, it was the crucible that would forge her identity. The moment felt heavy with potential, clinging to the air as if the universe itself was holding its breath. Deep down, Sara understood that she was on the brink of claiming her narrative. Would she allow fear to dictate her path, or would she rise to that challenge, reclaiming her dreams alongside breaking the chains of her past? Clara, she started anew, her voice steady and unwavering. What if we approach this not as foes, but as allies navigating our shared complexities? I see in you the reflection of my own struggles. Clara's defiance trembled for an instant, replaced by an emotion that danced somewhere between surprise and consideration. Could the embers of empathy kindle a moment of awakening? Sara felt her heart race as she stepped forward, emboldened by her emerging clarity. Your laughter might be armor, she pressed, but inside, I believe you yearn for more than this endless game. We've both known shadows, and as much as they scare us, embracing them holds the key to genuine freedom. Every word felt as though it chipped away at the fortress Clara had built around herself. With each moment that passed, that flicker of vulnerability deepened, revealing cracks in a facade finally ready to give way. The shift in Clara's stance was palpable, a pivot toward possibility. In that illuminating silence, the older woman standing by them offered a knowing smile, an unspoken endorsement of the journey unfolding. Step into your truth, she encouraged, her voice infused with warmth. Share your stories. For opening up is not weakness, it is a strength that leads to boundless connections. Clara's jaw twitched, and Sara could see the internal battle being waged. You think sharing our stories will make things better? What if it only magnifies our flaws? There was a childlike tremor in her tone, unveiling the frightful realization that perhaps Clara had never learned that sharing vulnerabilities could be cathartic, a balm to the soul. That's the beauty of our stories, they're imperfect. Sara exclaimed, her passion igniting courage that began to soar within her. They don't need to be polished to be valuable. Each flaw adds depth to our narrative. With an abrupt inhalation, Clara seemed to steel herself, grappling with the possibility of laying bare her struggles, even if just for a moment. I've lived behind walls for so long. I don't know how to unlearn that. Sara reached out, the action symbolic of her willingness to bridge their chasm. We'll figure it out together. Vulnerability can be a new strength we cultivate, a chance to redefine how we see ourselves. And then, with a start, Clara took a shaky breath, her defenses crumbling in the embrace of authenticity. Letting go terrifies me, she admitted, the tremor returning as she dared to peer into the void. What if I fall? Then you'll find the courage to rise again, Sara replied, heart swelling with hope. It's time we discover the foundation where true strength lies. Let us reshape the narrative. In that shared vulnerability, the lingering specter of animosity shed its weight, transforming into an aura of solidarity. Clara allowed a cautious release, her shoulders relaxing as the battle within her yielded to something hearkening from a deeper understanding. The air around them turned electric, charged with the perception of possibility. As they stood before each other, Sara could see shapes of the past shifting, the boundaries previously defined blurring into something more wholesome. The evolution of their encounter was palpable, one that could ache and mend simultaneously. With a newfound resolve, Sara turned to Evelyn, her heart surging with gratitude. You inspired me to embrace my complexities. This moment isn't just about Cedar or Clara, it's about the tales that shape us all. Evelyn nodded, her smile reflecting pride and belief in their journey. And every step forward defines who we choose to become. Sara felt her confidence solidify as Clara hesitated yet again, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. You really see me? Yes, Sara reaffirmed, consciously stepping into Clara's narrative and creating a space for their shared growth. We're mirrors reflecting a powerful truth. Together, we can navigate the valleys and mountains as explorers of our own narratives. The sunlight around them began to shift, embracing their slight figures with warmth. Clara's walls trembled, reflecting the fracturing of the barriers she had erected around her heart. Let us rebuild. Her voice quivered but held a heavy resolve. Let us forge new lives from these stories that bind us. As the words spilled like sunrise over the horizon, what felt like a last flicker of darkness vanished as they reached for each other's hands, two souls now intertwined, promising humility and vulnerability. Sara's heart roared with triumph, so much more than a rescue. She had transcended her fears, emerged stronger from confrontation, collaborated with potential, and had finally embraced the transformative power within stories. Together, they step into the uncharted future, carving pathways deeper than wounds inflicted and rising to meet what lay ahead. Sisters connected through experience, emboldened by vulnerability, and precipitating an unbreakable bond. In this moment of reawakening, they became architects of their destinies, armed with transparency and igniting a fire that would warm their own souls and the souls of others to come. As they ventured forward, the world opened before them, illuminated by the potential only they could behold. The journey to self-discovery had begun, both triumphs and tribulations awaited, but together, they were ready to embrace every challenge that stretched across their paths. The time to step into the unknown was now, a fresh canvas awaiting their strokes. And at last, victory was not merely in the stories they told but in the fearless hearts they had become. Now, with this heartwarming conclusion of personal growth, the call to action stands clear: you need to subscribe now to the channel. This is the moment to show your support for compelling and transformative storytelling. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep this uplifting journey alive. Comment your reactions and theories about this breathtaking journey of our protagonists. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this remarkable conclusion, reminding them of the strength we all hold within in the face of adversity. Don't wait even one more second to support these untold stories.